Prior to no, because I always feel like the art. I literally just opened it while you were reading, but I want Right.
Meeting called to order at 3:09 p.m. Roll call done by swiping. All of y'all swiped in. Good to go. Beautiful. Acceptance of the minutes. So all of y'all who have your agendas, scroll down to the bottom. Take a look at the minutes from last week, just to get a feel if anything needs to be changed and all that. So take a couple seconds. Seeing none, in order to accept the minutes, we need a 2/3 majority vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? The minutes have been accepted. Administrative reports. Great. All right. Officer reports. All right. So I asked that all the new legislators who haven't been sworn in yet to come up here, and you're going to give your name, your major, and why you decided to join the SGA. So right up here. Don't be afraid. Come up here, folks. All right. So, basically, you're going to say your name, your major, and why you decided to join the SGA. So, let's look here.
Alright, awesome. Hi guys, my name is Carla Farfan. I'm a business studies major. I decided to join the SGA because I was part last year and I really like what we do on campus.
My name is Jaime Rodriguez. I'm majoring in computer science and minoring in criminal justice. And I decided to join the SGA because I'm a freshman and in high school I did a lot around school. So I felt like this would be really kind of like a really cool thing to do around here.
Hi, I'm Devin. I'm a general humanities and professional writing major. And I decided to join the SGA because Mug needed a legislator and any way I could help them get through, that's fine by me.
Hi, my name is Bensu. I'm a public health major with a concentration in community health education. I decided to join SGA because in high school I was very involved on every activity and I wanted to carry out the same thing in college.
All right, sounds good. So I'm going to ask that all of y'all raise your right hand and repeat after Jillian.
So once I say I, you're going to all state your name at the same time, okay? So I.
Jim.
No, you repeat after me. So say I and then say your name. Sorry about that. I.
Oh, shit. All right.
Round 3, okay. I state your name. I'm Carla Rodriguez. Do solemnly swear. That I will faithfully execute the office of legislator. Of the Student Government Association of Montclair State University Incorporated.
Of the Student Government Association of Montclair State University Incorporated.
And that I will. To the best of my ability. Uphold the Constitution of the student government.
Congratulations, y'all. All right, so y'all can go ahead and be seated, and basically what that entails now is y'all can begin voting on whatever vote that we need to make. So keep that in mind. Great. All right. Do any of y'all have anything to say to officer reports right now? Good. All right. So I basically will go ahead and give my spiel. So, hi everyone. Hope y'all are doing okay. Happy Wednesday. So basically, I've been reiterating to all of you that a really important guest is going to be attending this meeting on the 23rd of October. And that guest is our president of the university, Susan Cole. So it's important to be mindful that y'all give her your undivided attention. Make sure that none of y'all are going to be on your phones throughout the majority of the meeting. It's really important that you show your respect. Be sure to dress professional, that way she knows that we're all professionals here. So just be mindful of that when that's coming up, and I'll be reminding y'all. So arrive here promptly at 3 p.m. for the meeting to start. That way we could get with the run of the day. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about that. So we'll go ahead and move into cabinet reports.
So y'all, how y'all doing? My name is G, y'all know. I'm the classroom director. September 30th, we had our meeting. It was very successful. Every single one of my works came. I had them. They were supposed to have a legislator by September 30th, and each and every single one of them had their legislator, so that's good. It's a part of their Round accreditation that they need to have a legislator for class 1, so they all have them. Just a few updates. BSU's had their. Oh, never mind.
Okay.
HSA has their HSA week, October 14th to the 18th. HSA has their cultural soiree, October 20th, in Student Center Ballrooms, from 7:30 to 10. LASSO, some of these passed away, that's why. MSDO is October 21st. They're having a friendly snack at the Student Center. It's like for dietary food, something like that. It's healthy food. Mufasa's having their Halo soon. Lumen Nights, I believe it's Sundays. So Lumen Nights, from 7 to 8:30 in the Lumen House. What's today's date? UASO has their Global Village Formal Day tonight, from 7 to 10. So if y'all want to stop by, that's all.
Okay. Any questions for the director? Thank you. Anything else in cabinet reports?
Hi everyone, I'm Christine. I'm the class 2 director. Last week Thursday we had our second meeting and went pretty well. Everyone showed up except one org. During the meeting we talked about the orgs who are about to go up for retirement, like what they need. Also, they were telling me about the events they're having, how there are a lot of more people attending their yellow body meetings, so that's a good thing. And that was basically it. We also went over the events that they have coming up. I don't have the events on me, but that's pretty much it. Everything is going pretty well.
Any questions for the director? Thank you. Anything else in cabinet reports?
Hi, I'm Christina, Director of Academic Affairs. So within the month of September, I met with different deans of different colleges. So it came with 3 different deans and their associate deans. The College of Humanities and Social Sciences, the College of Mathematics and Science, and the University College. And they had like a lot of different ideas that they want students to like be a part of and the SGA to promote. So like the CCM department wants SGA to help promote their professional development fair. So they said last year they had 250 students in attendance. They would like more this year, and they would like if SGA would help to promote that. The College of University, Dean David Hood asked that the SGA helps remind students of registration. They feel like SGA does a good job with promoting like social life at Montclair, but we'll also like us to help promote academics more. A lot of people, they said, miss registration, and sometimes like they register the day before classes start, and they want to get that to like control. And then they also said they have like a podcasting that they're doing that they want students to get involved in. So like maybe like every week a random student will come and talk about life at Montclair so that commuters can also get an insight of what's happening on campus without having to be here. So like for example, like a student who's a part of NASO, the National Native African, you know what I'm talking about. So like they would just talk about what it's about on the podcast, or like a bio student would just talk about what it's like to be a bio student, so that they want us to like promote that so that students know about that so they can get involved. And yeah, that's pretty much what I have.
That's good. Any questions for the director? Thank you. Anything else in cabinet reports?
Hey everyone, my name is Daniel. I am Director of Alumni Relations. Within this month, I met with the the Office of Alumni Relations and Annual Giving, and they would like to introduce students to the Student Alumni Council, known as Students Today, Alumni Tomorrow, also known as STAF. STAF is a group of ambassadors that partner with the Office of Alumni Engagement that volunteers and participate at campus events for students and alumni. Some of them which they plan and come up for themselves, and others they co-sponsors. The benefits for students who decide to join is meeting and networking with alumni, potential for making connections for the future, jobs, and recommendations for graduate school, gaining access to internships and job opportunities, adding learning leadership skills to your resume, and volunteer opportunities throughout the year. Within staff, the Office of Alumni Relations and Alumni Giving is currently working on the senior class committee, senior class gift committee, which is specifically for seniors. Stat seniors automatically become a part of this if they decide to join. It aims to create a culture of philanthropy by raising money for MSU related causes, including but not limited to the emergency scholarship fund, the creating other scholarships, book funds, and the Red Hot Pantry. So Kaylee Buckhorn, she's an intern of the alumni engagement team. She will come on the October 23rd. That's not next week, but the following SGA meeting to further discuss that and trying to get student engagement and talk about that.
Any questions for the director? Thank you. Anything else in cabinet reports? All right, looks good. All right, so before we move forward, one thing I just forgot to mention, we do need to nominate a temporary clerk for this meeting, so, Molly?
Motion to temporarily nominate Kevin as, I said that wrong.
Is there a second? Kevin, do you accept? Yes. Kevin, you are now the temporary clerk. All right, we'll go ahead and move into committee reports. So if any of y'all committees have met, if y'all have anything to say about what's been going on developing your committees, feel free to shed light. Kelly.
Okay, yeah, hi guys. I'm Chair of Org Review, so I just wanted to quickly mention that the deadline for Class 4 organizations to submit their charterment paperwork is this Sunday, October 13th, so that way we can put the bills in on Monday before the deadline at 4 p.m. And they were made aware of that. They have 2 weeks total to do that. I sent them a follow-up on Tuesday. Just so you know, in case you run into these orgs, the 4 that need to charter this semester are Montclair State Love Your Melon, Montclair State Veterans Network, Rise Up, and Young Americans for Liberty. And then there's 2 organizations in grace period, meaning if they don't recharter this semester, they're no longer recognized by the SGA as an org because they didn't recharter last semester when they're supposed to. And that's Media Arts Mashup and the Champions Club. So if y'all know anyone from those orgs, please reach out to them and be like, hey, did you guys submit your paperwork? So that's all. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kelly. Any questions for Kelly? All right. Anything else in committee reports? All right, so moving forward, we'll go ahead and move into programming. So we have a little special guest today for a programming segment of this meeting. And so we have our very own student trustee, Nikita. So she's just going to give a spiel about what she does, what the position entails. So please give her your undivided attention and take it away.
So I'm a big fan of Google Slides that are colorful, so I kind of can't do a presentation that way at this point. But while that's going up, hello. A lot of new faces here, that makes me really happy. I hope everything. Alright, so as Jonathan mentioned, I am a student representative on the Board of Trustees. It is a state requirement to have student trustees in every public New Jersey university, which is not common for a lot of states. And a lot of universities actually have their students requesting this to be a policy. So we're ahead of the curve in doing that. So if you walk into a Board of Trustees meeting, a lot of students do walk in during the tuition hearings held next semester, and it's a really confusing setup. There's a bunch of people there you don't recognize. You see Dr. Cole and you're like, okay, I know who she is, maybe. But it's a lot of people in suits, and it's a very fast, confusing meeting that's kind of hard to get a read on, and that was definitely my first reaction when I walked into my first Board of Trustees meeting. And it took me a little while to get comfortable with it, so let me try to break it down for you. So the Board of Trustees is a supervisory group for Montclair State University. And members of the Board of Trustees are actually appointed by the governor, and they're usually important to New Jersey's industries. So for example, the president of the Prudential Center is on the Board of Trustees. The former vice president for research of Bristol-Myers Squibb is on the Board of Trustees. The CEO of PPAC Blackstone Bank is on the Board of Trustees. So in terms of networking, you're kind of talking to a lot of CEOs, which it's kind of weird to call a CEO by his first name, but I got used to it pretty quick because I get really uncomfortable when you're like, Dr. This. They're like, no, call me Francis. I'm like, okay, Francis. So part of the job of the Board of Trustees is to approve, kind of be the final say before a new change to the university goes underway. So for example, every academic major that's revised or that's introduced has to be approved by the Board of Trustees, has to be taken to a vote, also plans to renovate or establish new buildings on campus, has to go through the Board of Trustees. The university budget every year is voted on by the Board of Trustees. Hiring decisions, personnel decisions is approved through the Board of Trustees. However, student trustees do not sit on those committees for legal reasons. The strategic plan of the university up until 2025 got voted on in September, which I got to see the plan and deliberate on the plan and give my feedback to the plan. And it's really cool to know that I'll be making decisions that affect students in 2025 when hopefully I'm out of college. So this really is the most big picture organization on campus. These decisions are the most big picture you can get. It's not thinking about day-to-day operations, but rather things that happen decade to decade or year to year. So to introduce me, my name is Akita Williams. I'm a senior psychology major. My minor is in leadership development through civic engagement. And I used to be a legislator for the SGA. I used the SGA as a wonderful kickstart to getting involved on campus, and I really enjoyed my time as a legislator. And then I was a sophomore by the time I became a legislator, and it was kind of like a now or never moment to go on the Board of Trustees, so I ran for it. I was really nervous, and I ran unopposed, so that was a relief. The committees I sat on while I was a legislator for the SGA were Student Affairs and Academic Affairs. I served as a secretary for both of those committees, and I had a lot of fun on them. They were related to my interests and my passion. Going over kind of large organization decisions seems like something a psychology major wouldn't be interested in, but I am interested in the psychological theories behind how organizations work, and I figured this was a really good way to have some experiential learning. And I do have a passion for studying leadership in an academic setting, and it's a lot easier to understand these theories when you can apply them. So a lot of business majors and political science majors tend to go for the Board of Trustees, but I would say don't think that your major doesn't apply, because almost anywhere you work for, there's going to be a large organizational oversight. And getting to see how that works as a college student is really fascinating. The next slide. So what exactly I do and how students are heard on a macro level is I'm one of the 2 student representatives of the Board of Trustees. It's a 2-year-long term, so my first year was last year. I was the non-voting student trustee or the student trustee alternate. And what that means is that I wasn't able to vote on decisions. I could participate in deliberation, I could give my 2 cents, but I would not be making the final vote. This year, I am the one who's making the final vote, so that's a big responsibility, but also one of the things I've been the most proud of doing at Montclair State and one of the things I've been most passionate about. As a non-voting student trustee, you would sit on the Academic Affairs and Facilities Committee. So that's similar to the Academic Affairs Committee in the SGA that I sat on. So that usually talks about the development of new majors and minors and new academic programs. That goes over the Cleary report, which is the violent crime report on campus. Facilities goes over construction projects, updates on them. Contractor bids, updates on that. and the budget for construction on campus, so there's always something to talk about in the facilities portion of that committee, because this campus is always doing something. As a voting student trustee, I sit on the Audit, Finance, and Investment Committee, and that sounds terrifying, and I was terrified because I'm a psych major, and talking about investments was not something I ever thought I'd be doing. But in terms of that, that's looking at the investment profile for the entire university. That's looking at contracts and did we make the best financial decision hiring this media consulting organization to improve our branding. That's looking at the audit reports and any large financial decisions. So I won't get to see, for example, the College of Humanities and Social Sciences budget, but I will get to see the entire budget for the university and talk about things that way. So it's not as much day-to-day as it is large scale, what you did for the year. I also will consistently bring back feedback and have one-on-one meetings with university administration about a variety of subjects. I really do like to advocate for students as much as I can, so I schedule those meetings as often as I can. Usually, about once a week, I'm talking to an administrator about something. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. But this is something that, this is a sentiment I've faced that kind of bothers me. The idea that nothing you're going to say is actually going to amount to something. I have eavesdropped on conversations where students talk about tuition hearings or facilities and say, oh, they actually don't listen to us. And I think that that's really ill-founded. I get to interact with these administrators so much more than the average student, and the desire to know what students are thinking is absolutely there. So I would dissuade that type of thinking. Yes, this is a very departmentalized and huge university, but your small concerns, there's absolutely someone with a position that covers that and that wants to hear your feedback. Usually the problem is that not enough feedback is brought to the right person, so when you think nothing's being done, it's just that the people who can help you aren't hearing you. So I think that as leaders and as members of the student government, you absolutely should practice giving feedback as much as possible. Because I know I'm the first one to say if something doesn't go right. I've definitely complained to different administrators or just given honest, constructive feedback, and I've never had someone who completely blew me off and said they didn't care. So here's a short list of concerns I've worked with for students that are a little bit outside of my job, but I'm never going to turn away a student with any concern. I'm never going to say, go to this department, don't talk to me. I usually serve as a liaison between the right person they should be speaking to, because I'm a lot easier to approach than an administrator who might have a really busy schedule and you don't know if they actually care. So I found that students prefer approaching me than approaching Dean Carter or Dr. Pennington, but I absolutely flood their inboxes with feedback from students and ideas from students. So in terms of the symbol of what students can do to change this campus, I would look at the recreation center. The recreation center was actually a student idea, and it was something that the SGA years back kind of put money down and funded, and the university matched them. So if you think that your feedback doesn't go anywhere, just look at the rec center. There also was a movement from the faculty and the students to no longer invest in fossil fuel companies in terms of the budget portfolio and the investment portfolio, and that is being brought to a vote on October 23rd. I'm really positive about it. I don't know for sure if it'll be a solid go through with it, but there was a whole committee that was founded, the Advisory Committee for Socially Responsible Investment, based on these student concerns and these faculty concerns, and the idea that Montclair should be a leader in sustainability is a really strong sentiment among university leaders, among students, and among faculty. So this was all something that everyone worked together on, and it's now being brought to a final vote. And if you attend the Board of Trustees meeting on October 23rd, you can see that vote in action. I also had a student come up to me and say that in my entire degree, for the most part, it's very centered on European history and European writing, and I don't actually read works by authors who look like me. So we got together and we did a huge petition, and this semester she met with the dean of her respective college and spoke to him about it, and I'm really positive about how that meeting went, and she's always updating me on what's going on, and she understands that it might not change overnight, but there's definitely someone who's listening to her. So that's something I was really proud of working with. I've also sat down with the Director of Academic Affairs within the SGA to talk about Hire Red Hawk and ways to improve it. Dr. Cole suggested that I go to the Head of Career Services, so that's something that I might do next week, to see what student feedback is about the Hire Red Hawk service and how it could be better. I also have given suggestions on new academic programs and majors in the university. I have a meeting on Tuesday with the head of the entrepreneurship program to talk about some of my ideas. I also give a lot of opinions on terms of tuition and on educating students about what goes into tuition. So I've got a pretty, for a short list, that was a pretty long list. But I think that more so the feedback is about knowing who to talk to than whether or not your feedback is good, and knowing how to structure your feedback in a way that someone can resonate to. For example, if you just say, I don't know, let's say you're at a restaurant and your complaint is the service is bad, or the restaurant is bad, and you give that feedback to the manager of the restaurant. Well, what exactly can they do with that? What was bad about it? Was the quality of the food? Was it the wait time? Was it the demeanor of the server? Was it the environment that you were served in? There's all different factors. So if you just say, I don't like this, it's bad, there's not much to do with that. So I always recommend students really sit down and structure what exactly they have a problem with and what exactly their feedback is to make it more efficient and to get the results they want to see. So I have accumulated a pretty large resource network of administrators on campus who I've talked to, who I've given feedback to, and whenever a student has any suggestion or any concern or any feedback, I usually know someone to speak to. It's funny, my friends make fun of me all the time because I'll see a guy in student glasses and I'll be like, oh, do you know that guy? And they're like, why do you know every guy in student glasses? It's like, well, I know a lot of university administrators. So I'm a little weird as a student because I talk to so many administrators on such a high level, but that also makes me a really good advocate for students and someone who's not afraid to get that feedback. And some of my initiatives as the voting student trustee was to get students into local government. So I had a meeting with the Director of Government Relations of Montclair State University to go over how to get students more active and how to give more feedback in terms of local government. That's a whole nother presentation, but the state of New Jersey has disinvested from students since 2006. And in terms of Montclair, the budget that the state used to give for one full-time enrolled student has been slashed in half since 2006. So students are kind of waking up and realizing that there's a lot that goes into their tuition price, and some of those factors absolutely are political. And I would like to bring that to students' attention more and more, and to get students sharing their stories with politicians and with policymakers, because I've also been informed that a lot of senators believe that Montclair State is associated with Montclair the town, and that the income levels are the same as Montclair the town. And I don't know if you've driven through Montclair, but I don't think so. Their houses don't look like my house. So I think it's really important to get students sharing those feedback and saying, yes, this is the crazy things we go through every day, because I absolutely don't believe that senators are interacting with students enough and actually understand what it's like to be a college student in 2019. There was a Garden State Student Alliance among all of the student trustees in New Jersey, or at least the majority of them, in 2009. I dug up an old email from 2009, and it sounded like a really great idea, and it's something I want to reanimate. So I tracked down the voting trustee from 2009, and now we're having a conversation about how that structure worked, why it's no longer in existence, and how to bring it back. So that's something I'm really excited about. I also have been working on just getting students more empowered to speak up. At Montclair State, my non-voting student trustee partner is interested in creating an informal advisory board of students who could kind of serve as a sounding board and make her decisions better informed. I have definitely sat down with Montclair a lot to talk about my position and to talk about what's going on campus so that their articles could be a little bit more targeted and they could have a better understanding of the administrative side of things, which students usually don't think about. I also, last year, launched an Instagram account called MSU Student Trustees, if you want to give it a follow. And we did a hoodie giveaway, and about 50 more students commented than I expected. So that made me really happy. The follower count definitely increased, and I use that social media as an education platform. And instead of being here talking to you every week, you can check my Instagram and see what type of information I have to distribute to students. And if any of this is resonating with you, I absolutely encourage you to start thinking about running for this position now. Student trustees run in the SGA elections, so that would be next semester. The way that works is that you would petition to run, you would campaign, and then the election would commence. Getting the amount of signatures seems really daunting, but I hate talking to people, and I was able to do it. So as long as you chill out in the student center and have that petition slip, it goes by quick. For the Board of Trustees, there are some legal requirements. So you have to be a US citizen to be on the board. I believe that's something that the state has laid out, and there is starting to be feedback that students throughout New Jersey don't want that to be a requirement anymore. I don't know where that would go, but I know someone from Ramapo was telling me about it. To be on the Board of Trustees, it is a 2-year-long position, so you have to be a freshman or a sophomore to run, which I know it seems more like an upperclassman type thing, but you're absolutely capable of running, you're absolutely capable of this job. As a psych major, I did not think I had any business sitting in an audit, finance, and investment committee, and somehow I haven't made a fool of myself. And I encourage you to reach out to me, set up a meeting with me to learn more about the position. I will literally talk about this for hours. And I have a lot of insight and a lot of further information for you. So if you're the least bit interested, absolutely send me an email. Here's some things that I realized that as a student trustee, kind of traits that helped me out. Being conscientious. Most of the time, most of my projects are self-directed and self-motivated. There's no advisor really who's keeping up with me and making sure that I have this schedule and giving me a grade. So in terms of motivation and in terms of staying organized, it is largely self-directed. I never know what my schedule is going to look like in terms of who I'm going to be meeting with and what I'm going to be talking about. Sometimes I get completely thrown for a loop, and I just kind of have to, I have to roll with it. So it is more of an ambiguous position because a lot of student concerns are within the realm of what I talk about, and I have never turned away a student, and that's something I'm proud of. So whenever I get an email in my inbox, some days it'll be like, I want a culinary program in Montclair. Some days it'll be like, I want to change the curriculum in my major. Sometimes it's, I have a question about dining services. So I'm kind of everywhere. You also have to be able to meet with university administrators during the workday at some point. A lot of them leave by 4:30. So in terms of setting up meetings, I have to keep that in mind in terms of my work schedule because I do work. And so if you structure yourself so that your only free time is after 4:30, that's something you would have to be more flexible with. And the board meetings are usually Wednesday mornings or Friday mornings. So that's subject to change and that depends on availability, but that's what I've noticed, so I always kind of keep my Wednesdays and my Fridays relatively open in the mornings because I know that those are when board meetings will commence. There's not a lot of external rewards in this job. There's not a lot of status, there's not a lot of recognition, there's not a lot of fun events to go to in terms of having a DJ or having food. I don't go to events like that. So in terms of being passionate in your position, this is something that I think is really important. You are advocating for students constantly, so this has to be something that really lights your heart on fire, and I promise that for a lot of people it is. And my small talk has been kind of reduced to tuition and political factors, but I've never had anyone whose eyes have glazed over because they can see how this affects them. And as a college student, a lot of what you're advocating for is something that affects you. you're also part of a two-person team with a lot of responsibilities, so a lot of my day is running around, and sometimes it's really intense, but because I love what I do, it doesn't burn me out as quickly as going to my 8 a.m. class would. And something that I've noticed students and just young people kind of think is that they have to be ready to run and they have to be ready to kind of step up and become a leader, and I can absolutely say you are never ready. No one's ever really ready for leadership positions. It's kind of you throw yourself in the deep end and you see if you can swim. I doubt myself all the time. I sit in meetings and I'm like, why am I here all the time? But I think it's what you do in spite of that doubt and in spite of that anxiety that really defines you. So even if I think I'm asking the stupidest question in the world, I'll still push myself to ask it because it's relevant and it's what I as a student understand. I'm in meetings all the time with people who have 30 years of work experience and I'm not even 30. And people that are kind of the top of their industry, and I will definitely ask questions that are really kind of lower than them, but that's my job because I'm supposed to represent student understanding, and some of this stuff is, unless you've been working in finance for 20 years, it's not intuitive. So I don't think that anyone will ever be ready to run for this position, and I think that's a good thing. And this is just my email address if you would like to contact me, studenttrustee@montclair.edu. I also hold office hours in the Stork building on the first floor of the Student Center from 2:30 to 4:30 on Tuesdays and from 11:30 to 1:30 on Thursdays. However, I do spend those office hours running around with administrators a lot, so sometimes I'm not in my office, but I'm still running around doing board trustee stuff, so I would recommend emailing me first. But if you want to stop by my office, absolutely, you're welcome to. And yeah, any little question, even if you have the slightest interest in anything I've said, if your eyes haven't glazed over yet, I would absolutely shoot me an email and sit down with me and talk about whatever it is that's on your mind, or if you're interested in this position, absolutely start